Dear friends, welcome to Rutgers Presbyterian Church. It's marvelous to have you here with us. Rutgers Church is a community rooted in progressive theology and social justice, and has been that way for many decades. And in the last 10 years, it's difficult to believe it, that it is 10 years, deeply committed to advocacy for refugees, migrants, and asylum seekers. Nearly a third of our congregation was born abroad or has lived significant parts of their lives outside of the United States. And frankly, as you can hear me, I count myself among them. An imported pastor, thankfully brought in before anyone decided to impose tariffs on such imports. As important as it is to stay focused on what is before us and in front of us, it is also, I think, essential to pause and take stock, to remember where we began and what these 10 years have taught us. For many of us, the turning point came in September 2015, and I need to control myself. I often get quite emotional when I'm thinking about it. With that heartbreaking image of Alan Kurdi, a 2-year-old Syrian boy on the Turkish shore, I could easily see my son being that boy when he was of that age, or my grandson right now of that same age. And being prepared by parents lovingly, dressed in his best clothes for that trip to home, future home. At that same time, our partners in Europe were already facing rising numbers of refugees, and we heard about it. And one particular group which is close to my heart, and some of us here, were Waldensians in Italy, and working tirelessly in Lampedusa, a very tiny island where they had Italian government started to put those people crossing from Africa. They were showing and offering heroic witness and a lot of work, while darker forces were afoot in Balkans. And just trying to remember, I realized, dear friends, we are stuck with it still. Viktor Orban, I still remember, I'm from Czech Republic. Viktor Orban was our neighbor. And he was putting up wire fences and building concentration camps in Central Europe for migrants. And of course, one cannot forget here at home in the United States, a surge of racism, xenophobia, and Islamophobia after that infamous golden escalator moment. People of faith could not sit idle. Scripture clearly states, do not oppress the immigrant. You were immigrants in Egypt. And you will not have different sets of laws or justice for immigrants and for your own people. Those are quotations, a little free, from my memory, but from Exodus, very close to 10 Commandments, just 2 chapters apart from it. Those 10 Commandments which they are force-feeding us and putting into schools and elsewhere, and forgetting all these other very powerful commandments. Oh, I'm getting off my script. I need to return. Jesus begins his life as a refugee, political refugee. And the early church raised philoxenia, love of strangers, into a core virtue. And our own Protestant history carries the memory of persecution exile, and resilience in my own family. So we stepped forward because our integrity and integrity of our faith demanded it. And yes, we faced pushback. I heard or read anonymous letters, hostile calls, even threats, visits from FBI agents. Some of it I shared with my session, the governing body. Some of this I did not, I just tossed it aside. Why to bother? But those only confirmed that we were taking a needed prophetic stand. To borrow the words of a certain daughter of Lutheran pastor, wir schaffen das. We can do this. That was, of course, Angela Merkel. And even though I don't share her general political stance, I think her stand on refugees and asylum seekers was spot on. And we must do it, resisting the evils of racism and xenophobia. It requires persistence, courage, and faithful action. For our own sake, for the sake of our own families and our society, and for the sake of those whom we are trying to help. But that prophetic stand is, I think, the most important. Tonight, we are really taking that count of what happened in those 10 years, what changed, what we learned, and where we are going to go in years to come. We begin today by sharing a video about probably one of those most turbulent moments, about our support to the Koja family, our second sponsored family back in 2017. And there'll be a short video. So welcome, lovely to have you, and let us partly celebrate, partly learn, and partly regain a new vision.
بالأول فكرت مزحة إنه عم تمزح معي، يعني مو معقول يوم سبت عطلة ونحن جاهزين كل شيء، شلون طيب هيك؟ وأنت يعني مزحة. ما صدقت هالحكي. هون يعني كأنه ما بعرف، وقفت هنيك ما بعرف شو بدي أسوي، ما بعرف. وقفت.
We're kind of hurrying to get ready for them, and now they may not come. So, but if you see in the church all the donations that have been made to help these people get settled, and all these volunteers here today, it's very upsetting.
ورقة القبول إلى أمريكا.
يعني إنه ما بعرف كيف، يعني جد شعور، يعني مجهزين كل حالنا، خالصين هو كل شيء. حتى أنا ما بنقول إنه نحن أحلامنا هي اللي تحطمت يوم السبت، قالوا لنا إنه ما في سفر. مو بس إنه وما عدا وضعنا اللي هون ترك إنه البيت ما صفى بيت نقعد فيه، ما صفى لنا شيء هون. يعني هذا الوضع الثاني لحال، ما عدا إنه أحلامنا اللي هي راحت يعني. من هذا القرار كان مجحف بحقنا يعني، ونحن بسنتين كل جاينا هالإجراءات كلها مساوينا، وآخر شيء يقولوا لنا إنه صفيان يوم واحد إنه ما في سفر.
The family we were expecting to come tomorrow the situation is highly uncertain.
God, our parent, our succor, our hope. For these we pray. For the Abdul Hamid family entrusted to us by you, and for the Koja family, also entrusted to us by you, but cruelly prevented by a government run amok from coming to us, from seizing the benevolent rescue offered them till now by the very best in our country's past traditions, but hanging still by the thread of hope.
يعني أملنا تحطمت كلها ببساطة بتليفون واحد، يعني التغيت السفرة، إنه بس هيك، إنه كلمة واحدة بس والله السفرة التغيت. يعني طيب
طلع صاحب البيت كويس، قال خلوكم بالبيت على أساس نحن مصافين كل شيء، بيت، مي، كهرباء، على أساس بدنا نطلع من البيت. الهويات والإذن الخروج طلعناها، بخشنا الهويات ما عاد يشتغلوا هون، ما بنعرف شو بدنا نسوي، متلبكين.
السفرة التغيت. يعني طيب شو نعمل؟ مو بس نحن، في ناس كتار، في ناس كتير عم بيستنوا، صار لهم أكتر من 2 و3 في من 4 سنين مسجلين بدهم يبلشوا يعيشوا. يعني كل اللي كانوا طالبينه كنا بدنا نعيش، بدنا نسوي بداية جديدة يعني، بس هيك. امبارح جاء اتصل حكينا معهم، فقالوا لنا جهزوا حالكم مشان تطلعوا. متفائلة إن شاء الله، يعني أمل جديد، بداية جديدة إن شاء الله. يعني
أملنا نبلش حياة جديدة، حياة عملية.
مبسوطين كتير، يعني وصلت على المطار إن شاء الله يا رب. مبسوطين كتير، يعني شعور أكيد، يعني ما بعرف، ما فيني أقوله.
We are waiting for our Kocha family coming from Istanbul by plane, and half of the church and many volunteers are here, and they are all excited and waiting for them. We have a good hope that they'll be able to come, although there is a court hearing in California right now, which makes it a little tight. We are on the edge, and we hope that they'll be able to make it. Pardon? And this is just Yes, I'm proud.
والله يعني الشعب الأمريكي كنت أسمع عنه، ما بعرف، أسمع عنه إنه هون بلد الإجرام، بس يوم اللي جيت وشفت تغيرت 180 درجة. النطرة بوصولنا لعندهم نسيناها كلها. يعني قد ما الواحد بيتلبك وبيتعذب وبينتظر، بوصلتنا لهون نسينا كل شيء. يعني شفنا الإنسانية هون، شفنا الحنية هون. يعني الواحد بيحس كأنه بين أهله، بين إخواته. يعني ما بيشوف حاله الواحد غريب، يعني بيشوف حاله إنه كأنه واحد من هالعيلة.
I'm Dave. This is Jamil. We're going to chat in just a moment, but I wanted to say a few words after that amazing video. When we first started planning this event, I was very hesitant to use the word celebration. There's so much insanity going on. But looking at the exhibit that Leslie put together for us and looking around the room at so many people who've been part of these efforts the last 10 years and thinking about the friendships that have developed through the work, there is a lot to celebrate. It's truly been a community effort led by members of the church, but so much of what we've been able to accomplish was because of people who don't belong to the church, don't attend worship service, but who heard about it and got involved. And that's so gratifying. So thank you to everyone who has been part of this. But we don't just want to stroll down memory lane tonight, as tempting as that is. We all look younger in some of these photos, if that's nice. But that was then, this is now. And we do want to spend time this evening taking stock of our current efforts and trying to look ahead to both renew our commitment, but think about other things we can and should be doing with your help. And we do this mindful that the friends that we are helping are living in fear and anxiety and uncertainty because of, well, you know why. And we try to stay informed so that we can be a trusted source of information when they ask us what's going on. But I confess I'm confused too, and it's a full-time job to keep up with all the developments. Church World Service is here. Thank you, Courtney, and your colleagues. They have a daily brief that's fantastic, that it brings people up to date on what's going on in the courts and the various executive actions. But you know, even for those of us who are somewhat involved, it's confusing and it's a lot to keep track of. But we do try to keep up as best we can so that when our friends ask us, we can try to explain and help them cope with all of this. So that's the context in which tonight's discussion will take place, and we don't want to forget about the fear and anxiety that's right there. I'm the church administrator, but for the next hour or so, I'm mostly going to be wearing my Welcome Home cap. I actually should have one, but that's a community organization in Jersey City. And I first heard about it because the 4 families that we sponsored all lived in Jersey City, Union City, Bayonne. And they started telling me about this, this organization and these Monday nights called Fun Club, where they would go and have mediocre pizza together, and the kids could play games with local kids. They could get homework help. The adults could have English conversation. There was a lot of socializing. There were always a couple people like Fred and Bess in the room to help them with jobs or school issues. I thought, this sounds really great. So I rang up the founder, a fellow named Alan Mentha, who many of you knew, and we got acquainted and became good friends, and one thing leads to another. He asked me to join the board, which I was happy to do, and I've been chair for now 4 years, which is a really great honor. And that happened just at the time when the organization went from helping about 125 people to almost 400 with the Taliban takeover in Afghanistan in August 2021. Now there are no new arrivals, basically. The resettlement agencies are still busy with other clients, and we won't wade into the details, but the new arrivals through the refugee admissions program, which brought our 4 families here, has been suspended. And so at Welcome Home, we're looking beyond the welcome. How can we help the friends who are here to be successful in their long-term resettlement, what the field calls integration? And so I wanted tonight to talk to Jamil, who has been here with his parents and 2 sisters and 1 brother for just about 4 years, and learn a little bit about the challenges they faced, how they've gone about them, and hopefully that will inform some of our work as we think about what's the best use of the Welcome Home resources going forward, because we know that there's plenty to do. So, Jamil, thank you for being here. Thank you.
It was an honor. That was invited to be interviewed here with you guys.
Thank you.
Happy that I'm here. Share some stories about my memories, all the way from Afghanistan to here. I don't think Jamil's mic is on.
We'll get that fixed, right, Nadine? Yeah. While we get that fixed, I'll mention that we just watched that amazing Journey and Welcome by the Kojas in 2017. Jamil's family had also amazing journey leaving Kabul in that summer, August, I believe, making their way first to Qatar for a month, and then through Philadelphia to El Paso, Texas, where they were then put out in the desert for 2 months at a military base, and then finally arriving in Jersey City in December 2021. And again, I mainly want to talk with Jamil about what's happened since then, but I wonder if there's anything about that journey before you got to Jersey City that you'd care to share with us.
Well, it was great, to be honest. I was 15-year-old back when I was...
Can you hear now? Okay. Okay.
Everyone can hear me? I was 15-year-old when I left my house, and I remember it was August 15, 2021, around like noon. I got a call from my dad telling me, oh, Taliban took over. I'm like, nah, you're joking, Dad. He's like, no, I'm actually serious, so stay home, don't get out. So it took him like an hour to get home. Usually it takes him like 20 minutes, but it took him an hour to get home. I don't know why. And then all of a sudden, he got a text message, because my dad used to work with the U.S. government when we were in Afghanistan, and then he was a manager and supervisor for a corps engineering, if you guys heard of it, and he was helping people to build military bases and all that. So my dad worked with them for 8 years, and after that, I helped my dad to apply for SIV, Special Immigration Visa, which is specifically for Afghanistan, and I helped them to apply, sign the papers, fill out the application, all like that. Give me your signature, I'll take care of it. So I filled out the application and submitted it, and then he got a text message from a supervisor telling him, you have 2 hours, you have to leave. Only 2 hours. So pack whatever you have, put it in your bags, and you have to leave the country in 2 hours. But he never mentioned his family at all, which was us and my siblings, my mom. They didn't tell us. My dad was like, well, what's gonna happen to my family? And he was like, we can't do anything. So my dad was like, if I don't go with my family, I'm not leaving the country. So it took an hour. He called back. He was like, okay, we're gonna take your family as well. So we left my house like around 1 a.m. Went to Kabul airport, and we were there for an hour, and then a bombing happened right, like, let's say, a mile from my family. And we were scared. Actually, we were scared. I still remember, to be honest, the scene of like being in that environment, close to a lot of people, and then blood and people who were like, actually, to be honest, dead. And I was actually sad about it. And then we were happy, and we were successfully left Afghanistan, and then went to Qatar. Stayed in Qatar for 26 days, 2 days in the airport. And we took the vaccination and the MMR and the COVID. It was after COVID, I think. And it took us 26 days and get out on around like October 18th, and then it was a day flight from Qatar to Bulgaria. We had a stop in Bulgaria, Europe, and then all the way from Europe to Philly. And we landed in U.S. in October 19th, 2021. I was actually excited. I was like, well, I don't know how U.S. is, my first time. You know, people say it's really nice and it's a lot of opportunities to go and do. And I was like, well, we'll see what's gonna happen. So I landed in Philly and then stayed there for 12 hours and then flew to Texas, and that's where it started. When we were in Qatar, our expectation was super high. We were like, I told my sister, I was like, guys, like, leave your shoes here. We're going to U.S., you know what I mean? Like, they will give us everything. I'm like, it's United States of America. It's land of opportunity. They will give us everything. Just leave your shoes. I left a pair of my shoes back in Qatar. I was like, you know what? I'm going to U.S. And then I landed in Texas, and then all of a sudden, this soldier came by, and we went to El Paso and then Dona Ana, the military base, and then he came by and he told me, he's like, welcome to Dona Ana. I was like, yeah, thank you so much. I was like, how long am I gonna stay here? He was like, well, there's people who stayed here for like 5 months, and then they didn't ask me this question. I don't know why he asked me this question. I was like, because I want to leave this place. I want to see outside. He was like, nah. So we stayed there, and then he was like, okay, let's go. I passed by the tents, and I was like, what are these for? He was like, these are the places you guys are gonna stay for the next couple months. I was like, oh, this is, I don't know if it's this U.S. or I'm going back to Afghanistan. But then we stayed there. We went to the process of biometric and the fingerprints and everything, and then we stayed under the tents for 3 months. The moment we walked into the tents, my sister looked at me. They were like, can we go back to Qatar? We don't want to stay here. And they start crying. And then I'm like, it's okay. I mean, we're gonna get used to it. And then I was like, it's okay. I was keep lying to them. We were like, oh, we're gonna leave next week, the week after. Then to the point that it was a month, and they were like, you're lying. I'm like, yeah, I'm lying. So we got used to the place, the environment, and to be honest, at the end, we actually loved it. It was like so nice. We were like in a camping zone, and we had our tents. The food was there. Late night tea. They were giving us tea, cookies, and everything. So in the beginning, we hated it. And after that, we liked it. And then we get to choose where to go. And then we picked New Jersey. And we were like,
why did you pick New Jersey?
To be honest, I did my research. One of my options was New York. And I was like, if I go to New York, I'm going to be far away from New York City. I was like, you know what? New Jersey's small. There's an hour drive to New York. I was like, you know what? Let's be close to that. So then there was one option in Virginia. There's a big community of Afghan people down in Virginia and California. But it was so packed. Everyone wants to go there. I was like, no, let's go to New Jersey. The education was nice, to be honest. I looked at the education and the colleges and the high school. And I was like, you know what? Let's go to New Jersey. We picked New Jersey, and took us 3.5 months. And then on all the way from October 19th to December 21st, which was almost New Year and Christmas time. I walk into the airport, people going up and down, luggages and all that, and then our seat was the last seat in the row. Like, we were next to the engine. Like, I was here in the engine. We were in the air. But we flew from El Paso to Atlanta, Georgia. Oh, the airport was big. And then I was glad that I was able to speak English and lead my parents. And we found the gate. It was my first time going to Five Guys. I walked by the Five Guys, and then I was like, do you guys get cash? He's like, nah, only credit card. I'm like, I ain't got no credit card. I'm just 15-year-old. And then a guy next to me, he was like, it's okay, give me the cash, I'll pay for it. I was like, oh, thank you so much. And to be honest, the fries wasn't good. I didn't like it. But then we stayed there in like 4 hours, and then we flew to Newark Airport, New Jersey. And we stayed in Woodbridge, New Jersey for 2.5 months in a hotel, which was a good experience. We were treated like a guest. I still appreciate it's a National Rescue Committee, IRC. They were really nice to us, and then they were giving us some card and everything, stubs every week for the food and everything. It was nice. I liked it. I want to go back, to be honest. But because now it's outside, it's like kind of a lot. But after that, got a call from IRC telling us we're going to Georgia City. I was like, oh, excited. So before that, I was like, Dad, let's go to Jersey City. So we just went to Jersey City, me and my dad, look around. We were like, we don't want to be. Like, I told IRC, I was like, are you guys sure we guys going to take the tires at Jersey City? I was like, they were like, yeah. And we were like, we don't want to go. In the beginning, we said we don't want to go. They were like, no, we'll go. I was like, no, we are not going. We don't like the place. We just don't like it. And then they were like, it's okay. You guys can go now. And then later on, a month or two, stay there. And then after that, we're going to move you guys to another apartment, to another city or any part of New Jersey. So my parents were like, kind of convinced because they were tired of hotel and rooms and everything. So I was like, okay, let's go to Jersey City. Went to Jersey City. Didn't like it, to be honest, in the beginning. But I love it now, to be honest. But stayed there for a week and then got a call from Welcome Home, one of the people from Welcome Home, Hana Manager, she's right here. And I got a call from her, and she was like, we want to visit you guys. And then we were happy to have a guest. She came by, asked about everything, and then told us how Welcome Home is and how they're helping local refugees who just came from Afghanistan. I was like, that's great. And then we got invited to Fun Club, which I recommend you guys to come. I'm glad that I'm part of Fun Club. I haven't been there for a week or two. I was there last week, but it's a great community. A lot of opportunities for every age group, to be honest, for old people, ESL, and then for the little kids just playing around, and for my age, high school and then college application and all that. But I was glad that I was there. And then remember Kena, she gave me I remember her giving me the bus tickets, and I didn't know how to use it. And I asked her, I was like, how do you? She was like, you can just show the driver. I walk into the bus driver, and he looked at me. I looked at him with the same face. He was like, what are you looking at me? I'm like, well, how I can pay? He was like, either cash or show you a ticket. I gave him the ticket. First time taking a bus in the U.S. was a good experience, to be honest. I took it for 5 years. I mean, not 5 years. I mean, I took it back in Afghanistan, and it was different. And then now I was like, way modern.
You told me before you knew how to use the bus, you and your family walked an hour to a grocery store and an hour back.
From my house all the way to General Square, Jersey City, was an hour walk. And we didn't know how to use the buses, which I still laugh about. And we stayed on the bus stop. We didn't know, we should look at Google Maps or some other apps to know what time it's coming. So we stayed there for an hour. This bus did not come at all. My mom looked at me like, are you sure it's coming? I'm like, well, maybe. It says like bus 9 is going up to General Square. I'm like, okay. So we did not come.
Those signs are aspirational in Jersey City.
We walked to General Square an hour, and then, which was a good experience. An hour walk and an hour come back. It was tiring, to be honest. That night I slept so well because I was tired of walking. But yeah,
so if all we do, Manija, is help people get buses around town, that's a big.
That was great. That was the first thing that Welcome Home helped me with was the bus. And I asked them, I was like, I need to learn this because I cannot walk at all, like to General Square an hour. No, I'm not doing that. But after 2 or 3 weeks, we get used to the place. We went to Fun Club for the first time as a whole family, which was great, which was really welcoming. And there was other Afghan families as well. And I was glad that I was there. After a really long trip all the way from Afghanistan and Texas under the tents and everything, we were back kind of getting normal. But I was really, it was really, sad at the same time, happy. Sad about my parents. It was really hard for them to start all over again. Like, it was building a life back in Afghanistan and then starting all over. It was ×0. So it was really challenging for them. And
let's talk about those challenges, especially, I think, for your parents. The biggest immediate challenge was language. And you were the head of household because you had good English. You'd gone to an international school back in Kabul. And I think your sister also had English, but they were younger. So you had to kind of do all the negotiating for the family. And, I think we've all come to appreciate as we do this work, language is the most important. It's the starting point. And I know your parents struggled to find work in large part because they they didn't have language skills.
Yeah.
So how did they go about finding work? And tell us a little bit about those challenges.
So to be honest, I filled out 500 plus application for my dad, which was really challenging. Best and Fred always helpful. They sent the application over, and I was helping my dad to fill out and get a job for him, which was a good experience. I was building up my own experience, developing everything of like how to get a job. And the first person, the thing is that back in Afghanistan, it was the head of the family, the father was the one who was working, and the mom was taking care of the kids in the house and did not work. But when we came to US, the biggest difference was like, my mom was the first person who got a job. And it was actually surprising. I was like, I'm happy my mom got a job. And then my dad, for my mom, it took like a year to get a job. And she loves cooking, to be honest. Later on, we have some desserts and the snacks. You can have it. My mom catered it, and I was glad that I helped her to bring it here. But after 2 years, my dad got a job at BJ's, Jersey City, which was really, he was happy at the same time. He was like, oh, I don't want to work. And then he was like, no, I want to work because I'm tired of home. But it was the biggest challenge was English, the first place, and then getting a job and getting the experience. And at the same time, I was looking for a job. And again, Biss and Fred helped me to get the job at the Department of Recreation and Youth Development of Jersey City as an assistant basketball coach. I've never played basketball in my life. but I walk into the room and then they told me that.
This is being recorded, by the way, so.
I walk into the room and did a meeting, and then I raised my hand for soccer because I was a fan of soccer, like, oh, soccer, Messi, Ronaldo. But after meeting, everyone raised their hand for soccer. There was a lot of people for soccer. There was like only one person, like, no, actually 2 people for basketball, and they were like, we need one more. And I was like, they were like, doesn't matter. You don't have to know basketball. You just have to take care of the kids. I was like, okay. So they gave me the work as a assistant basketball coach. I walk into the first day and they told me like dribble. I start dribbling with the kid at the same time. I was like, I'm learning too. It's my first time playing basketball. But it's been 3 years and I'm still working with them. Now I know how to play basketball. But it's a great experience being around the kids in the community, and I have a lot of friends. They're like 5, 6 year old. But I'm glad. It was challenging, but I was happy that my dad got a job and my mom at the same time, and then now kind of stable life, way better than the beginning, and now we feel comfortable a little bit.
And I think you've been helping with household expenses from your part-time job.
Yeah. The thing is that as a starting job, to be honest, I took a role of paying for electricity bill and water and gas, and then take a portion of the rent as well. And I started working when I was 16.
So let's talk about housing, because that's another huge challenge for lower income, recently resettled families who mostly were entitled to some assistance in that regard for a while until they were on their own feet and had some income. But I think you were put in an apartment by the resettlement agency that was maybe not super expensive by Metro New York standards, but well above what you could afford. Mm-hmm. And then you had some rent assistance, but there was a problem with that. Can you tell us a little bit about the housing side of things?
About the rent assistance, to be honest, they really actually helped us in the beginning. They paid for a year and a half of our rent, the housing county, and then the county department and family assistant. They helped us for a year and a half with the rent, which actually helped us a lot because it took a year for my mom to get a job. So we were able to cover that year as a rent. But then when my mom got a job, they started cutting it off because they were like, you guys have a source of income now. You guys have to pay it by your own. So we were paying half till, to be honest, January 2023, and then they cut it off in total. And then my dad got a job in 2024, which it took him like almost 2 years to get a job. But after coming to US, one of the biggest helps was taking care of people of how they're gonna start their life in the U.S., which my family was part of it, and I'm glad it was there, and they were always for us over there, and always helping us. And anyway, all the way from Afghanistan to here, they actually helped us a lot. I mean, with expenses and everything, and that especially the rental assistance and the SNAP was the biggest. We still have SNAP, to be honest. It got lowered a lot, but still, I'm so thankful for having it. It helped us the most. Like when they had it for a month, it was cut, and our family were able to kind of balance it out. And thank you for Welcome Home for helping us with some gift cards and groceries and everything. And it was really a struggle, and I was feeling bad for those families who just came and they weren't able to have the SNAP or benefits and have the food at their house. So, which was a rough month for all the people who were like lower income and they were getting SNAP and everything. But as you said, the rent assistance and everything was one of the biggest and most helpful stuff that we received from U.S.
So I think at some point, I can't remember how you learned, but the rent assistance had been interrupted or canceled or something, and you learned that you were $5,000 in debt.
Oh, yes.
And and then Jamil did something so brave. He went into the County Department of Social Services, a place you can go into and never come out of. I'm looking at Laura because I think she experienced that. I would not be brave enough to go in. And you got the problem solved.
It was because they cut their rent in November 2023, and then they never told us, to be honest. They were like, we send you a bill to your house that we're gonna cut your rent, but we never received the bill. They were like, we sent it. I was like, I've never received it. But then I got a text message on February 2024 from my landlord and telling me, oh, you owe $5K. I'm like, wow. I was like, Dad, we owe $5K. We have to pay the $5K. I'm like, and he was like, what do you mean? Are you being serious? I'm like, yeah. Of course, they are asking us to pay $5K. I look online on the account, and it was $5,700. And I took a deep breath, and I asked my dad, I was like, what should I do? He was like, let's go to county. I was like, okay, let's go to county, Dad. And then I walked into the county. Ooh, lines are like, what, 2 hours? But I was like, you know what, Dad? Let's stay in the line. We stayed in the line for like an hour and a half, and then they told us that, oh, we can help you guys, but you have to fill out the application that's 35 pages, and you have to fill out every single page. So my dad told me that they're doing this to you, so he'd be like, I gave up. But then I was like, you know what, Dad? I don't give up. I fill out these 35 pages. So I filled out the 35 pages. I sent it over. And then they asked me more questions. Oh, your doctor's paper. I was like, okay, here's doctor's paper. Yeah, they were finding a way to tell me, you're not eligible. We're not giving you that $5,000. I was like, nah, I'm fighting for this. And then it took me 2 weeks going to county office 3 times a week, talking with the caseworker, asking, what happened? To the point that she was like, enough. She was like, enough. I was like, what do you mean enough? She was like, enough, we received everything you sent us, and we know you're on top of the application. Just give us time. Still, it took her a week. She did not reply. I went again. And then I sat for an hour, and she got online to the screen, and then I was like, well, what happened? You told me I'm approved. She was like, you know what? I'm writing the check right now. I was like, good. She sent the check over to the landlord, and we had to only pay like $300 of it because it was a late fee, so we had to pay the late fees. Better than $5K. I'd rather pay the $300 instead of the $5K. But yeah, that was the challenge.
You beat the system. Good for you. Yeah. There can be an image, I think, that people who resettle should totally assimilate and give up some of their traditions, some of what they left behind.
100%.
But I've seen in your family that you brought with you really important traditions, faith traditions, cultural traditions that are still very important to you. And I wonder if you could speak a little bit about that.
One of the biggest one that I said back in Afghanistan is the traditional that the mom of the house took care of the house with the kids, and then the father of the family would go. So one of that got changed when we came here, and other than traditional was as in like being part of the community. Always is as an Afghan, we always love the guests. Whenever you guys go to Afghanistan, you guys are always welcome to any house. If we even don't have it, to be honest, if it's a cup of tea or coffee or anything, we always welcome guests all over from work. My dad used to bring his friends over who were from U.S. and then we were always welcoming them. Either it was a tea on a table or a great Afghani food, but we were always welcoming them, and that's part of the tradition that we always welcoming people come over. I live in Jersey City. Any of you guys would like to visit, I'm happy you guys come. And yeah, I mean that's part of the traditional.
And what about faith traditions in your family?
I believe
looking around where we are right now.
I mean, to be honest, good point. And I've never walked into a church back in Afghanistan because there was no churches in Afghanistan. And then I was like, but I was really excited, to be honest. I was like, I go to mosque and I go to masjid and I pray over there. But I wanna look around. I wanna see. I wanna make my knowledge better and better about how world is and how there's types of religions and faith in this world. And what I did the first time, best friend took me to synagogue in Hoboken, Jersey City, which was really excited. I look around. I was like, this is a different type of experience, like there's different people like who believe in something else, and I was like, that's great. And then came to New York. They've helped me with my application for college and everything, and I walk into a church and look around. I was like, this place is nice. This place like feels like a good place, like it's a place that's calm. People are like welcoming, and like everyone is smiling at each other. So the faith was I'm thankful. I'm thankful from God. And I'm this far. And I always sit down and then pray, and I'm like, I'm thankful for whatever I have right now. I'm thankful for whatever I went through. And I'm glad that I'm here today.
And you mentioned helping you with college stuff. Several people helped with college stuff. I got the financial aid side of things, but you did it on your own. So tell our friends here a little bit about the college experience and where this shirt comes from.
No, Stevens. I'm a duck now, quack quack. And applying to colleges was junior year. Got a text from best friend Fred telling me, Jamil, it's time to go. I was like, okay, let's go. I mean, let's lock in with this college applications, and then start working on my essay. And then, I don't know, somehow I got busy over the summer, and it did not work at all over my essay. And then it was the deadline for Rutgers University on December 1st, and my essay was not finished, and I had like best friend, like 5 people working on my essay to get this done, and then
not writing it.
I was writing the whole thing and then trying to get it done, and I was like, I want to shoot my shot for like some of the great universities like Columbia, Princeton, UPenn, NYU. I was like, it's okay if I don't even have a chance to get in, I'll still apply. Worth to do. So we separated out. Best friend Fred was helping me with Columbia applications, supplements, and then someone else from Welcome Home was helping me with the Princeton supplements, and then NYU supplements, and then UPenn supplements. And to be honest, I applied to 22 colleges. And people were like, are you crazy? I'm like, no, I'm not crazy. Well, brother, it's free application. Why not just fill it out and submit it? I was at that point that I had my supplements ready and everything, and then I was just filling out the application and sending it over. And I got into 18 of them. I was glad. And my top choice was Columbia, Princeton, NYU, and UPenn. And got rejected from Columbia, got rejected from Princeton, waitlisted from UPenn, and then got into UPenn, and then waitlisted from NYU, and then all of a sudden when I committed to Stevens, they sent me an email, oh, you got into NYU. I was like, well, I'm already committed to Stevens. But they were asking for a lot of money, to be honest. That was one of the biggest part. And it was really challenging. And coming to Dave up here, which was good, to be honest. Wake up at like 8 a.m., come to here in New York. It was like, oh, that's nice. I'm learning the subway, how to use the subway. First time, learning. Who taught me? Bess taught me. She sent me a screenshot of like everything, and she was like, Jamil, take the express. It takes you off at 86th Street, right next to Central Park. I was like, okay, got it. And then I got it wrong, and I went to Bronx and came back.
It's happened to all of us.
But yeah, they came here, finished out the FAFSA application with Dave, and to be honest, I still remember the cupcake was so nice. It was really fresh. And we had a breakfast in the morning. It was the cupcake, and I liked it. The breakfast was nice, and we talked for like we almost took like 2 hours, I think. Yeah, 2 hours, 3 hours to fill out the application, which was a lot. But now I'm really trained. So whoever needs to help with college application and everything, I'm on it. Like I know what I'm doing.
Jamil's been helping high school seniors at Fun Club with their applications, so it's great.
One of them is my sister as well. I told her last night, I was like, get done your NYU supplements.
So you're in your first semester. Last time I saw you was midterms, living at home to save money. It's a full tuition scholarship, which is fantastic, but no room and board. But you're nearby. You're still working. Still helping with expenses at home. So how do you juggle all that? What's that like?
Well, to be honest, my morning starts at 5 a.m. Wake up before the sunrise, pray, and be thankful for whatever God gave us. And after that, getting ready, eat breakfast, and then leave house like 7:30, and drop off my older sister to high school, and then my younger sister, who goes to high school in Hoboken, drop her off. And then get to class, 9 a.m., math lecture, which I don't like it at all, but yeah, it's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class, so I had it today. But the lecture starts at 9, but my morning starts at 5. But I leave my house 7 a.m. and go to class till like, I made my schedule to finish before 4 p.m. to go to work. So I finished like 3:30, rush in, trying to get a job, trying to like, drive 30 minutes and then to go to work, and it's. You're
still an assistant basketball coach.
I'm still assistant basketball coach. Yeah. I'm still learning basketball. I remember some kids asked me in the first days, they were like, "Well, coach, how you shoot the ball?" I was like, "Well, I just don't know, just like you don't know." But. Yeah, still working as a basketball coach. I get out 7:30 a.m. from my house, and I go home at 10 p.m. Full-time student and working part-time. It looks like it's full-time now because I work 5 days, Monday through Friday. Challenging, but now I made it less. I made it 2 days, and it's okay. I was like, it's okay, less money, but less stress. Trying to work on my projects and everything for college, but managing it as a Because I started as a 16-year-old, I used to manage it as in going to high school, get out of high school at 3:05, and then go to work at 5. I had an hour gap, using that gap to finish all the homework so I don't have to do homework after work, which made me more, to be honest, mature and really ready for how outside world is right now, to be honest, as in being an adult. And I experienced to be an adult way early before turning 18. When I turned 18, my friends asked me, like, Jamil, you turned 18? I'm like, well, there's nothing different about it, bro. It's the same thing. But they were like, oh, you're an adult. I'm like, yeah, but I'm used to it. Like, I already know what I'm like going through of like work and college and school. But yeah, my morning starts 7:30 a.m. and ends at 10 p.m. When I get to home, no energy. Either shower or just fall asleep on my table.
So I think you have a lot of people in the room here who probably are voting for you to be successful, would love to help you if they could. What could be done to help you or your family?
Well, as a college freshman right now, and to be honest, it's been 3.5 years we live in the same house. So I'm trying right now. One of my notes and like goals right now for a family, I'm keeping every month goal for the family of what I'm gonna do this month for my family to like improve and like getting used to the country is like we're trying to like move out, to be honest, from the house that we're living right now. We were like, it's okay, we're gonna pay like extra like $200-300, and right now I'm asking anyone who knows anyone in Jersey City or close to Jersey City, New Jersey, they know anyone as a landlord, any house for rent or anything, I'll be happy to look over, and like we're trying to like get a bigger house because my little brother is getting older, so he needs a room. And
So you've become a real New Yorker,
yeah,
looking for the next place to live.
yeah. And as in college freshman, and I'm trying my hard to get an internship this upcoming semester. So anyone in this hall will be here knows anyone who can help me to get an internship for this upcoming summer, which is like next year.
And you're studying
computer engineer. And if it's technology, I'm all good. I'm a really good coder, Python, C++, HTML, and I learned it in high school and back in Afghanistan. But I'm open to that, and then I'll be happy to talk after.
Thank you. So, I want to reflect on a couple things that I've heard Jamil say tonight and other conversations we've had, and then I think we'll have time for a couple questions. First, on the housing. We've seen a lot of families who were put in apartments that they were not going to be able to afford. And I think in this case, IRC probably said, well, we'll be able to move you soon, so, sign here. And that never materialized. Both the high rent, but not the most desirable neighborhood that Jersey City has to offer. So there were concerns about safety and security. And then the problem with the rent assistance was cut off. On one of these walls, I think, is an op-ed I wrote a couple years ago about how the housing affordability is a challenge for resettlement. And so these numbers are a few years old, but at that time, the government had established what would be called a fair market rent for a 2-bedroom apartment in Jersey City, which was $2,300. And so I did the math, and a typical family that Welcome Home would be helping, where one person is working, a minimum wage or barely minimum wage job, would need to work 18 hours a day, 7 days a week to make that rent affordable, which according to government is 30% of income, leaving enough for other expenses like food and clothing and transportation and whatnot. So that didn't really add up. So what it means is many families like Jamil's are severely rent burdened, 50%, 70%, 80% of income spent on housing. And, there's no easy answer to that. This is a nationwide crisis for low and middle income families. But it leads me to note that the local conditions where resettlement occurs are a factor in success or failure, but they're not usually part of the discussion. The local housing market in Jersey City was not really understood by this particular resettlement agency, which was located an hour away. Welcome Home hired a realtor who did know the market, and he tried to find relatively affordable places, but the local conditions weren't really part of the discussion. And it's the case in Jersey City that urban development policy in the last many years has favored large-scale luxury apartment buildings, market rate. Sometimes there'll be an affordable component, but not a large component, and it's not really affordable for low and moderate income families. And there's not been sufficient investment in older housing stock or existing neighborhoods. So this isn't the time or place to have a discussion about Jersey City's urban policy, but the point is there needs to be a time to have that discussion as part of resettlement, because Jersey City's housing market is a factor in the success or failure of families like Jamil's.
Yes.
So one of the things I've been thinking about is how to promote those kind of dialogues and conversations. And for the past 3 years, I've written a letter as part of the city's housing policy planning in their public comment period and gone on the record expressing some of these concerns. But one of the things I want to do going forward is to really promote a dialogue with the city about these issues. And there'll be a new mayor in Jersey City. There's a runoff in a couple weeks. And so I think part of what Welcome Home needs to do as a local community group is bring attention to these conditions of the receiving city, Jersey City, and how they factor into the success or failure of resettlement. So those are some of the things I'm trying to think of. And there are other deficiencies in the resettlement model that we used to have and hope to have again, that we can become nostalgic that we don't have resettlement right now, but it wasn't a perfect system when we had it. So I think it's an opportune time to reflect on the weaknesses and try to make some improvements going forward. And I hope the experience of organizations like Welcome Home can be part of those conversations and dialogue. The other thing I wanted to draw attention to is the struggle to learn English. And we certainly see that in our efforts to help Welcome Home families get work. We'll talk more about employment in a minute, but having job-ready English is just really a prerequisite. And without it, you might talk your way into a job, but you're probably not going to succeed in the job. And I think there's more that Welcome Home needs to do around English language instruction. And I've seen Beth nod because she's been saying this to me for 4 years. I had a conversation last week with Church World Service. They have some new programs around ESL, and I'm hoping that they might be a resource for us in the new year to really bring more English language instruction into our network, into our fun club. Now it's been kind of a hit or miss, a lot of dedicated volunteers, but not enough structure. And I think for the long-term success of our families, we really need to give that a lot more attention. I was reminded of this 2 weeks ago because I went to the open house of Riverside Language Program, which is now Riverside Immigrant Services and Empowerment. And I remembered what a life-changing event it was for several of the families that we co-sponsored to have the benefit of Riverside's instruction. It really put them on a solid course to get a job and hold a job and go to school and the success that follows. So I think the language piece of success really needs a lot more attention. And that's another thing I want to try to strengthen in the new year. You mentioned your faith and cultural traditions, and that's very meaningful to me. Also, I was happy to hear that in the first few days, Manija reached out, and Kenna, another of our long-term volunteers, reached out. I think something that Welcome Home does really well is promote those kind of social interactions and be there quickly to help get you on the right course in a language that you know. But also at Fun Club, the most success is around social interaction. And that's also so important to feeling that you're welcome, that you belong, that this is a place where you can succeed. So I'm proud of that aspect of Welcome Home's work. Talking with you and knowing you and the other families that we help, I really understand that resettlement is a long-term journey. And within the government program, it has a certain short-term structure, okay, but it's really a very long-term project with no fixed timetables. Every family is different. Every member of a family may have a different timetable, many challenges. So I think the long-term commitment that Welcome Home is able to invest in is also really important. We're going to be there just as we were for these families for many years until they were able to be on their own feet and succeed. And now you and your sister are paying it forward by being volunteers yourself at Welcome Home, so that's fantastic.
I'm glad that I am.
I want to thank Jamil very much for sharing his story with us.
Thank you for having me.
And before we turn to our next conversation, I think we've got time for a question or comment or two, if there's one. Thank you.
I was wondering, on the English language stuff, if you got in touch with the Teachers Union. They're very powerful in New Jersey, and they just elected a governor.
That's a perfect comment from John. Thank you. The political leaders, the unions, that's a great suggestion. We have not done that, so we'll follow up on that. Thank you.
My name is Christine Gorman. I'm a member of the church here and was very involved, particularly with the Amiri family from Afghanistan, and doing a lot of soup to nuts, you know. It could be English language instruction, helping with, you know, the kids, or deciphering how to go through a pharmacy to figure out, you know, what you need for colds and this and that. And it was very eye-opening for me to go to go to the Medicaid clinics and so forth, and that whole sense of maybe if we make them wait long enough, they'll go away. And that, as I said, that was very eye-opening. But what I wanted to ask, actually, of Jamil, you talked up very eloquently about where you came from and that incredible can-do spirit that really comes through. Imagine yourself in 10 years from now. What do you say to that person? Who do you hope you will be in 10 years?
I think your mic is still working, Jamil.
Work? Hello? Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm probably going to tell the person that was 4 years ago. I'll tell them, I'll be like, well, brother,
Jamil, could you stand up for us?
Sure.
Thanks.
You have a long way. Like, to be honest, that this 4 years passed by like this, and then it will pass by even more and more. But as in 10 years from now, hopefully, marry. probably 1 or 2 kids. Not a lot, because it's still a struggle. But as in where I am, probably New York. I really want to live in New York, to be honest. Either New York or New Jersey City. I love to be in a city. I don't like to go far away from the city because it's get boring. But I just love to stay close to the city, and especially New York was a dream. Back when I was in Afghanistan, always Times Square, New York. Times Square, New York. Liberty Statue, right there. I'm right there. But I'm happy. I'll be happy for sure to tell myself I did it. I came far away, all the way from Afghanistan, and I'll be probably an engineer. I mean, who knows? Like, I picked computer engineer, and then at the end I'm gonna be a philosopher. Nah. But I'm probably as an engineer, having a family. Hopefully my parents are gonna be next to me because I can't go away from them. Even when they told me that you can, but I was like, nah, Mom, I can't. I can't leave you guys alone. But engineer, family, kids, and building my own family, and probably teaching my kids how I got here. I'll be like, guys, I know you guys are gonna be having fun, living right now, living your life, and paying for everything, but remember, your dad came from far away. Like, there was like 7, 8 mountains passing by the plane, and I got to U.S. The sea too as well. I mean, it was like from all the way from Europe to U.S. was a long trip, 10 hours. But probably, yeah, having a family, kids, education, and living a free life in the U.S. and being together. Yeah, thank you.
I thought he was going to say he'll know how to play basketball, but I guess. And I went to admitted student stay with Jamil and his sister at Stevens, and we're in this room of 3,000 students and parents, and I said, stand up, look around. Your future spouse is somewhere in this room. The look of alarm on his face was just priceless. So, I see Gail Brewer here. Thank you so much for being here. Could I prevail upon you to make an observation about this work for us?
First of all, congratulations. Thank you very much. I have been working with Ruth Messinger on a lot of the immigration issues here in New York City, and I actually went to court, so I have asylum seeker in my house from Guinea. And when you go to court before 21, this is, I think, nationally, then they will not be deported, even with this crazy man in the White House. And so this individual, it's hard to get your GED, but that's what we're working on. And deliveries, and also working at the Grand Bazaar, which is a local flea market, very successful. And the issue for, I think, in New York, which is maybe different than New Jersey, is that a lot of people are trying really hard. I'm sad that there's no new individuals coming. I love that we did as much as we did, even though there were a lot of concerns at the time. But I think as a result, there's a lot of support around the city, similar to New Jersey, I guess. So that's what we're doing. We're all working. We now all have whistles. We have a signal group, and we're nervous about next year. But I think that people are ready for whatever is going to come. The governor has a war room, and I know that Mayor Madami is also very concerned. We're all working to make sure that there's no ICE in the streets or National Guard in the streets. We've all been to 26 Federal Plaza, so we know what that's like. So I think we're all on guard. At the same time, we're making sure that people have schooling. We're making sure that they have clothing. The JCC, St. Paul, St. Andrew in this neighborhood are endlessly helping. Legal services. English is a second language. Right here at Rutgers, wonderful, wonderful legal services. So I think it's many, many tasks are all being done, but we have to be careful about what goes out of Washington.
Thank you. So now I'd like to invite Richard and Edgar and Karen to join me. We're going to talk about 3 current programs that the church is supporting and understand how they've been pivoting given the situation this year. So come on up. And while they're getting their seats, I'm going to try to shill for this wonderful cookbook. I'm looking around the room. I think probably most everyone already has a copy, but if you don't, this was one of the joys of the last 10 years was working with Mayada, the mother of the first family we helped, who we discovered was a wonderful cook because we invited ourselves to her home for a potluck. And we got there and she had made this fantastic meal for us. And so then there was a suggestion, well, you should cook some dinners and make some money. So we had about 15 dinners here and other churches and synagogues. And then it led to this wonderful cookbook that this amazing team of volunteers, all women, cookbook writer, food stylist, photographer, publicist, project manager, came together under the umbrella of Hiroko Kiffner, who is here. Thank you, Hiroko, who published the book through her company at no profit. Every penny went to Mayada. We sold more than 5,000 copies, but we have some left, so if you don't have one, it makes a great gift, and we'll be selling them in the corner back there. So, and there's a wonderful exhibit here about how the book was put together and the people who worked on it. So that's my pitch. So we have Richard from the Refugee Employment Partnership and Karen from our church benevolence committee, which we call the Giving Network, and Edgar from the Asylum Support Clinic. And these are all programs along with Welcome Home that the church has been supporting. So I'd love to know, Richard, I think you were the first person who understood that it's all about having a job. If you don't have a job, it's not going to come together. So I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about how you put REP together, the particular model you have. And one thing that interests me is how you overcome skepticism or hesitation on the part of employers who may not be used to hiring the kind of candidates that you're bringing to their attention.
Thank you, Dave. Well, this all started also around the time of the Syrian refugee crisis. And I'm a member of B'nai Jeshurun, which is our partner in this effort. And we formed a committee to try to figure out what we could do to be helpful in some small way. And went out and met with a number of the resettlement agencies. And in addition to obviously housing and schooling and medical care and et cetera, I've discovered that obviously employment is a key part of what they do, and that it was an area that they could use assistance in. And it's really for two reasons. One is because of staffing constraints. I think a typical employment counselor would be working with 25 or 50 clients at once. Hard to give a lot of personal attention. And also I think the staff, as committed and deeply involved and idealistic as they are, tend to be younger people who don't have a lot of connections in the business community and experience in working in that community. And an example of that, one of the first examples was I met with a woman at one of the agencies who's now a good friend and partner, and said, how do you go about looking for jobs for your people? And she said, I look on Craigslist, and if I see anything on Craigslist, I write it down and hand it to them and suggest they give them a call and send them their resume, which seemed there could be a better way to do that. So the model we built was really two parts. One is to have mentors who are generally experienced people in business, nonprofits, education, medical, et cetera, and who are willing to spend time one-on-one mentoring a client in partnership with the agencies. And then the second part was to build a network of employers who know what we do, support what we do, and want to see our people. In an age where when you send a resume, it gets looked at by AI and nobody ever sees it. What we were looking for, the deal with our employer network is just look at the resume. If we send you somebody we think is good, and give them a chance. The pitch is, we don't expect you to hire somebody because of charity or to make us feel better, or make yourself feel better. We want to give you access to a group of employees you wouldn't see otherwise. They come in with really interesting and diverse experience and skills, and a wonderful work ethic, and a commitment to any employer who would give them an opportunity. So that's our pitch. We really also work on understanding the employer's needs and matching them to our clients. We don't send them dozens of resumes. We try to just send them one or two if we have somebody, and to make their life easier, not create more work for them. And for evidence that what we were doing was working, one of our largest employers early on said, I can run an ad and get 500 responses. And then I got to work my way through those, and then I got to talk to the people, and I send you a listing and you send me 2 or 3 people and I hire someone. And that's really the way we're trying to work.
And I've lost track of the number of clients you've helped, but
I think we're at 270, over the period we've been doing this, from almost 50 countries.
Fantastic. Thank you. Edgar, Gail mentioned the legal clinic here, the Asylum Support Clinic, which takes place here. It's really an independent activity, although a number of church members are involved. You're dealing with very vulnerable clients who an asylum application opens every other door. I wonder, you have a particular model. There are some clinics around town that can do an application in one session. Tell us about the model you have and its particular strengths and why you've adopted that.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things that attracted me to ASC was specifically the model that they follow. So I think because of the influx of and the sheer volume of the people who came in when they were busing them from Texas and what have you, a lot of organizations were turning out asylum applications in 1 or 2 sessions, meetings of an hour and a half. At ASC, I think the secret sauce is the fact that we take our time. We ask the asylum seekers to commit 6 weeks to the process. It may not, and that's for 589, which is the asylum application, which at the time when we had a large volume, they had to be completed within the year of their arrival. So granted that there was a deadline, we would take all 6 weeks. We're very careful to, on the intake process to make sure that they're committed to doing the 6 weeks. And also that gives us a little bit of buffer just in case a person gets sick or can't get out of work or whatever. The application, usually we take about 4 to 5 weeks to complete it, and sometimes the whole 6 weeks. What that allows us to do is the application is pretty straightforward to a certain point, but it gives the group, which is a document drafter and an interpreter so that the applicant, the friend, is speaking in their native language. It allows them to build a relationship, to be able to get to the difficult questions without rushing. So in the first session, it's more of a get to know you, some of the demographic information. But it's the latter part of the application where they're talking about their circumstances for asylum, the trauma that they lived through, their journey here to the United States, that the 6 weeks really allows us to, kind of not rush through that and respect their privacy. And also we know that with the time, they start remembering things that they may have forgotten and sharing it. And so we do, we've seen the impact, the negative impact of some of these rush applications. So some of the asylum seekers are getting to their master calendar hearings, which is our first hearings, and judges are saying this is not, not any of ours, but from other organizations, like this is not a complete application, I don't know what you're asking me to do, and returning it back to them and giving them short windows to create, a good application. So we don't, thankfully our friends are not seeing that situation. And in addition to giving them the 6 weeks, in addition to giving them the time to really tell us their story in a very deliberate and thorough manner, our volunteers also are able to include in that time country condition research, so that we can support the greater environment besides not only their own experience, but what the political climate was in certain countries or certain prejudice, and also for the friend to come up with or to be able to obtain evidence from their own countries, whether it's somebody taking them or looking at their own phone records or what have you. So at the end of the day, we submit a very thorough application.
And you've been able to help how many people so far?
Wow, I mean, we, in terms of now, we're in the 500-600 in terms of applications for asylum. And of course, we've pivoted in the last couple of months, so we're doing also declarations, and we also do the work authorization, which is an offshoot of the asylum application.
And how many volunteers are involved in a typical 6 or 7 week cycle?
So we work out of the 5th floor, as you know, and we have 16 teams at any given time. Each team is at the minimum 2 volunteers, a document drafter, and an interpreter. We also want to set our volunteers up for success. So if we're a new volunteer, you might shadow a team for a while. So a team could have 3 people. We also, on the 3rd floor, have our work authorization, which usually after somebody applies for asylum, they're able to apply for work authorization 150 days later. So that kind of fluctuates from one session to the other, but it could be anything from as much as 6 people during one Tuesday to 2 or 3. So I would say we have probably about maybe 60 to 70 volunteers at any given time, because then we have childcare, we have people who help us set up, and break down.
And there's no shortage of people wanting to volunteer, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, we do have, we're lucky enough to have a lot of volunteers, a lot of people who raise their hand. We do look for volunteers with certain talents, especially as we pivot into doing declarations, which is more of a narrative, not your demographic type of information from an application. So people with, great storytellers or writers, people like that, we're always interested in having more. And also language skills. We're, I think, this last session, we probably had 5, 6 different languages going on in one floor.
It's an amazing scene on a Tuesday night on our 5th floor. It's really, really spectacular. Thank you. Karen, I think there's a flyer on one of the walls about a meeting we had back in 2016 on the 5th floor, where we were just kind of getting started, but we wanted to share our initial work with the larger community and, try to encourage some other activities. And I think you attended that.
I did. I was intrigued, and I came, and I was just so impressed with the massive amount of work and volunteers that were going into helping these families get acclimated to their new lives in the U.S. And what really impressed me was not only was it the members of the Rutgers congregation, but enthusiastic, lots of neighbors who wanted to help, donate things, donate time, and that just wowed me over, and it really is what attracted me to come to Rutgers and become a member here.
That's great. And so we have a benevolence committee that we call the Giving Network, and each year it is able to give out about $225,000 in grants to other nonprofits.
Right.
How does immigration fit into that work?
It's very important to us. We have areas of concern, and this year Ukraine is one. International aid for areas that are suffering from the cancellation of the USAID funds. Legal Aid, which is a big organization, but also offers a lot of support to immigrants. LGBTQIA and immigration and the environment are our other focus categories. Our grants aren't large. We don't have a ton of money, so we do smaller grants, and we so that they'll have a good impact on a smaller organization. This year, we're giving a couple of larger grants. One is to First Friends of New Jersey and New York, and they have been at the front line of protesting the Delaney Hall, which is right next to Newark Airport, and it has 1,000 beds. And the other one...
This is an ICE detention center.
Yeah. And then the other one is the Minkwon Center for Community Action in Queens, and they empower Korean, Asian, and immigrant communities to achieve economic and social justice. This year we were making smaller grants to a number of community organizations that assist refugees and immigrants in northern Jersey. We find our recipients through volunteering, through networking, and we generally will help a group out for a limited amount of time so that they don't become dependent on us.
Thank you. I think all of our efforts have had to consider some pivots this year. I know at Welcome Home, the day after the election, we first asked our friends to clarify their immigration status, because we didn't always know exactly what it was, or they may have come with one status and it had changed. So we wanted to make sure everyone was on top of that. And then we also partnered with First Friends of New Jersey and New York to hold what are called Know Your Rights workshops for our friends, but also others around town, so that they would feel more confident and knowledgeable about what to do if they encountered ICE or other problems at work or school. We also tried to make sure we were focused on making sure people had the benefits that they were entitled to, that, as there started to be disruptions in that, we wanted to make sure that we were there to help them with that. More recently, with the food stamp crisis, we did some special fundraising and were able to give, I think, around 19 or 20 of our households grocery gift cards with 1 week's value of their monthly benefit. In the end, that's about what was needed, because the weekend the benefits started to flow. So, we're trying to understand the new climate and be responsive. And again, as I said earlier, the big change is we're trying to really focus on the longer term success of the people who are here. If we're not going to be welcoming additional newcomers, what can we do to help families like Jamil's, who are 4 years in but still need some support and assistance? I wonder how RAP and the clinic have had to pivot or adapt at all given the new circumstances.
I mean, it's been interesting. It's been both a hindrance and, strangely enough, an accelerant for us. A hindrance in the obvious ways, in that there are no more refugees or very few SIVs coming in, reduced number of immigrants overall with work authorization. It's caused us to, David and Shirley, who run the organization, could you stand up and just wave to everybody?
Yes. David and Shirley, who do most of the work.
Have had to get very creative to find clients, and they've done that through outreach. You can sit down. They've done it through outreach to other NGOs that also work with the same population, through community outreach and networks of immigrants, and even starting to work with a number of the homeless shelters in the area who have immigrants who have work authorization and really need jobs. So I think they've done a great job of continuing to have an adequate number of clients that we can help. Interestingly, we used to do about 2 or 3 a month placements. Now we're doing more like 5 or 10. And the accelerant is that there are a number of industries, food services being the most obvious, that are used to having access to the immigrant population for their workforce, who have found them to have disappeared on them because of fear of what ICE is doing. So certainly the undocumented workers have not been as accessible to these employers, and even the documented workers with work authorization are not as available because they're just scared. So our employers know that we only work with immigrants with documentation and with authorization, and so we're getting a lot more incoming calls from employers desperate to replace the workers who aren't coming, and so that's led to a really, as I say, the acceleration. Different type of population, different type of jobs, but just as impactful, I think.
And the clinic, how have you guys adapted? And another thing I'd love your comments on is, I'm so impressed that you're, in the training of your volunteers and in the way you structure it, you're very, what we might call trauma-informed, trauma-sensitive. And if you could speak a little bit about that also.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think in terms of, we also saw the change of that was coming in terms of the reduction of people that were crossing the border with this new administration, and the fact that, original our strategy, and one of the things we've held to is to do a few things and do them really well, and one of those was to serve that population that had, was seeking asylum, that had less than a year here in the United States to apply for asylum, or within the year. So one of the ways that we pivoted was to kind of relook at some of those filters in terms of how the type of asylum seekers that we admitted into the clinic, and have most recently in the last 2 or 3 cycles admitted people who are past their first year. We're also now doing different types of population, like some of the asylum seekers that, were had temporary protective status from Haiti or Venezuela or humanitarian paroles that expired. And some of these folks will well over a year. So we're kind of changed our strategy in that sense a little bit. We've also pivoted by increasing the number of services and the types of services that we currently offer. So we're doing declarations, which is a more, a longer, more detailed explanations of the circumstances that led for you to leave and your country and seeking asylum. That's done in the first person. And so that's a new service that we've done over the last 2 cycles. And I would say that even though we weren't really quite sure how many people we were going to have, we still have full clinics with 16 participants, and we still do the work authorization work. But now the composition of that team, of those applicants, has changed to different services. In terms of your second question, in terms of trauma-informed, we do provide, I think part of what allows us to give people the time to breathe and the space to tell us their story and to share their trauma in kind of like a humane and respectful manner is what I mentioned earlier in terms of the structure of how the clinics are run. But we also invest in a lot of training for the volunteers. We have a trauma training that's done through Zoom that we've done in the past. Many of our volunteers have been with us for a while and have done the training several times. So we are looking for other different types of training that we feel could, either interview things or things that will help them to connect better and faster with some of to get at the real story with some of our asylum seekers. And then we also now, with some of our new services, we've done additional training that also speaks to how to really phrase your questions and your demeanor and how to conduct yourself during these conversations that you have with them that make people comfortable. And one of the things that we do is we'll also have daycare for the applicants so that they're not sharing their stories and traumatic experiences in front of their children.
I think that's really huge, yeah.
Yeah, the daycare is hugely popular with the kids. I think they would come even if their parents were done.
Yeah. I think some of these are clients living in shelter situations, so having access to a child-friendly classroom where the gym is big on the Tuesday nights they're here.
Yeah, and the kids are, and it's interesting to see, because as I mentioned, we have several languages, and you'll see kids that are playing together. They don't even speak the same language. They don't need to. We have Arabic and French and Creole speakers, and they're all just in there together. And the daycare is quite, it allows us to do the work in a calm manner, even though we're 16 teams in one floor.
It is amazing how calm it seems on the 5th floor with so many people working diligently. One of the new developments this year was the imposition of a $550 fee to submit an employment authorization application. And there's other fees associated with asylum that are new and whatnot. And it's testament to the quality of the program and how it's admired by the community that ASC was able to raise funds pretty quickly to be able to pay those fees for your applicants. So that's fantastic. And that leads me to my last question, which is really, the community aspect of your work. At Welcome Home, it's clear. We're place-based. We're in a Jersey City. It's 2 miles by 8 miles. We're talking about neighborhood issues and the schools, and it's very, very place-based. The partnership and the clinic are not exactly place-based, but I think community is very much present. So I wonder if you could speak to that.
Sure. Well, our group of mentors comes from B'nai Jeshurun, comes from Rutgers, which is a partnership that, by the way, formed around helping the coach's family with all their employment early on, which is how we got to know each other. And then we also have members of the community at large that have connected with us in various ways. One of the cadence is our mentors work with David and Shirley very closely. obviously work one-on-one with their own client, but one of the key things we've instituted from the beginning is we have a monthly get-together, usually at my apartment, make a big pot of soup and a big salad, and we work together for 2 hours and basically go through the experiences of the last month, new employers, and then go through our existing client base and get the input of the group in terms of ideas and connections for helping help that mentor solve their problem. And I think that camaraderie and sort of opportunity to work together as a group on a regular basis is sort of key to the culture and building a sense of community. The other thing I do have to comment on is, and when you talk about community, is Rutgers has been a key tentpole supporter. We have a couple key supporters that have enabled us to employ David and Shirley and have them working full-time, doing the wonderful work that they do. BJ provides an office, and because of all those inputs, we don't have to spend 1 hour fundraising. We get to spend 100% of our time working to help our clients, and that's such a privilege, and we really want to thank you for it, and especially want to thank you for your personal involvement and support.
Thank you. Great.
Thank you.
And you've mentioned the large number of volunteers who I think come from all over the city, right? They're not...
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that we have, and not only do we have a lot of recurring volunteers that come over and over that have done many, many different cycles. And the work is, I mean, it's difficult work, and it's a big time commitment on their part. And, you know, when you talk about, like, you know, there's not only the community of the volunteers, but you will see during the course of one clinic, or even when the asylum seeker comes back 5 months later for their work authorizations, that they seek out, or they, you know, embrace with the volunteer that helped them with their, you know, with their asylum application that allowed them to then now get a work permit. So, and you'll have a lot of volunteers. So I particularly receive a lot of the messages from the asylum seekers on a day-to-day basis as they go through different forms or what have you. But I will get messages from volunteers that they're also receiving and keeping contact with the asylum seekers on various forms that they might get, or just keeping tabs in, like, on their progress. So there's a lot of community within the volunteers and the asylum seekers, and we see that play out like every week, and even over the course of, like, from one cycle to the other.
I should mention too that this year the partnership had teed up an employer, a New Jersey employer, but didn't really have a client at that time. So they passed it off to us, and we were able to place someone there with Fred and Bess's help. I think they're still employed there, doing well, which is great. We also realized that there were a handful of employment partnership clients who had a status that might now be at risk by government decree. So they were helped by a special cycle of the clinic just to help them, which was fantastic. And now we're seeing some clinic folks who have work authorization coming over there. So it's a nice circle. Karen, I'll give the last word to you. You're our liaison between this work and our governing board, which is called the session. What do you feel it's important for our session to know about this work so that they can sustain their support?
Well, I would say that our faith encourages us to welcome the stranger, feed the hungry, and provide clothing, or as we say today, pay it forward. And I think that's really a big part of it. Rutgers has made a huge difference in several ways with the 4 refugee families, advocating for refugees and immigrants, and using our funds to improve people's lives, both locally and internationally. It is our mission as people of faith and mandate to continue to welcome the stranger, feed the hungry, and provide clothing. We welcome the stranger with open arms, and we encourage all of us to get into this work if you're not already into it, so that we can all pay it forward and make this world a better place.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Edgar.
Okay.
So we've run a little bit long. I apologize for that, but I'd like to give Nancy Muirhead, who literally has been involved in all of this from the beginning because she started most of it. I'd like to give Nancy a chance to make some concluding remarks.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. Sure.
Well, thank you, Dave, and it's an honor to be here tonight. My day job, I'm a nonprofit attorney. I'm on the steering committee of the Asylum Support Clinic and the Refugee Employment Partnership, and I'm a member of Rutgers Presbyterian Church. And I have to say, it's been really moving tonight for me to look at the pictures on the walls and to see the video and to see all of your faces here. We worked together for now a long time, and there's been really a huge impact. We do not see refugees as vulnerable victims or threats to our security. Refugees who are resettling are our neighbors and contributors to community life as new Americans. And really, their successful integration is our shared civic and moral responsibility. We're really proud to partner with other faith-based institutions and nonprofit organizations in this work, including our friends at B'nai Jeshurun, who are here this evening. As many have said tonight, our work has evolved over the years as the threats to immigrants has grown, and we are really resolved to continue to adapt and to deepen our efforts to support vulnerable new Americans. So we are really hoping to continue supporting the Refugee Employment Partnership, the Asylum Support Clinic, and Welcome Home, and also our giving network. We are hoping to continue to provide grants to nonprofits that directly support refugees and that undertake advocacy. So please think about what you can do to help. Can you think about any employers, any possible employers in your networks in New York or in New Jersey who maybe could help provide a lead for one of our new Americans? Because really, a dignified, stable job, we've seen it time and time again, it is the start of a new life. So please share any ideas that you may have. I think there's a form in the program, and we're really open to hearing from all of you. So before we close, I'd just like to thank, first of all, the leadership of Rutgers Presbyterian Church for their unwavering support for our ministry with immigrants. And I would like to thank a few people in particular at Rutgers. So first, Dave Mammen, our fearless leader, our church administrator and manager of projects. Laura Jervis, who is over here, our former associate minister. Karen Johnson, the session liaison for our work with New Americans. Zoe Strother, I don't think Zoe is with us, but she chairs the Giving Network, and all the volunteers who are involved with that. And of course, Pastor Andrew Stellick for his vision and support. I also would like to thank Richard Fields and David Coleman and Shirley Abraham and all of the volunteer mentors of the Refugee Employment Partnership. Sherry Levine, who is here somewhere, and Edgar, who you heard a few minutes ago, from the Asylum Support Clinic. Seth Park, he's our supervising attorney to make sure we don't do anything, cause no harm. And the more than 60 volunteer attorneys, interpreters, document drafters that make each of the 15 cycles of ASC possible. And of course, the staff and volunteers who work with Welcome Home in New Jersey. And also, thank you to many of you who've donated to make this work possible, individuals as well as organizations. Organizations include the church itself, Rutgers, and other faith-based institutions, such as Fifth Avenue Presbyterian Church, First Presbyterian, the Presbyterian Synod of the Northeast, the Revson Foundation, Interfaith Center of New York, that's all for the Asylum Support Clinic, and then for REP, Rutgers Church, the Rachel Ray Foundation, and the Well Met Philanthropy, which is another foundation, I believe. And it underscores it takes a village to do this work. Volunteering to assist new Americans is deeply meaningful work. We receive much more than we give. We develop meaningful relationships that enrich our lives and find meaning in these challenging times. This Thanksgiving, my dinner table will include 3 new Americans that Rutgers has helped along with their families. A refugee from South Sudan who now drafts contracts at a major foundation, an asylee from Nigeria and his wife from Siberia who faced racial persecution in Russia and now works as a doorman, and an attorney from Tajikistan who works as an immigration paralegal and is studying for her master's in law. I am deeply grateful for these connections, as well as the many more that I have made through Rutgers Ministry with Immigrants. We really believe that our church is not measured by size, but by welcome. Thank you so much for standing with us as we continue to choose welcome.
And to close this spoken part, and then there'll be a social time, and there are some refreshments, am I right, at the back? But we are in a church, and we have a rule that we open with the words of faith, and we close with prayer. So being imported pastor, my other tradition is Moravian. That's a peace church from Europe going back 100 years before regular world Reformation. And they have a lovely tradition of one verse from the Hebrew Bible, one verse from or 2 verses from the New Testament, and short prayer, and I'll close with that. And for today, November 19th, the Hebrew scripture is Micah 2:1. Woe to those who devise wickedness because it is in their power. And from Matthew 20:25 through 26. Jesus called the disciples to him and said, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones are tyrants over them. It will not be so among you." Let us pray. God of every nation, we live in a time of hatred, war, and despair. Help us to know that you are our refuge and strength throughout. We have hope that one day the world will be at peace and truth and justice will reign. And we humbly ask, please use us as your servants. Amen. The meals are served over there, so